Welcome, viewers, to a special episode of Michigan Smash Storytime. We have a guest, Nexic, Mark.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
And we are doing the third edition of our Big House 6 recap. This will be on the TOing aspect of Big House 6, because it's such a well-ran tournament every year. But before then, Gamero has some announcements.
Real quick, guys, I want to let you in on all the tournaments that are coming up soon. November 12th, we have the Macomb Saturday Series. Corner Pressure 2 is happening on November 12th. On November 19th, very exciting, we have the Mission Arcadian. This is the best tournament for anyone, any first-timer or new player. This is a great tournament because no ranked players can enter. That means you won't get bodied by duck and pools.
No doubles, seriously, stop asking.
No, we have something else cool in the works.
On December 3rd, we have GVGP 9. I'm not sure if that has been announced yet. So
there you go.
Ta-da! And then, again, another reminder, the Showdown Battle Royale will be happening on December 10th. And that is also in Macomb area.
Gibraltar Trade Center, to be more specific.
For sure. All right, so let's just get into it because we got a lot of content to go through real fast. The reason we have Mark here today is because rather than having me talk about all the teaming stuff, why don't we, have it from a more down-to-earth perspective? And we thought it'd be fun to have someone on the show. So why don't we let you start out on your thoughts on how TOing was ran today?
Sure. Well, another reason I'm here is I kind of offer a more in-the-middle perspective on how things went. Stif was a regular volunteer. Gamero was a head TO. I was a underling, sort of Gamero's upper staff structure. I was kind of there to deal with issues that were too little to go to upper-level people like Gamero or Juggle Guy. But I also didn't make any of the big overlaying decisions or major planning of the tournament.
Mm-hmm. So what this boils down to is that why is Big House the best series? When you ask Juggle Guy about what is so important about TOing Big House, he'll always say the same thing to you. He says delegation. Delegation, what does that mean? It means just making sure that people with a certain amount of experience are handling duties that they're capable of doing, and then having a support system in place for those people if something bigger than they can handle should happen. And we make this at every structure, at every level of the tournament, and divide it up so that no one becomes overwhelmed.
Yeah, if you can make any of it out on the back, you can see kind of the general structure of how it goes. Like, you have someone like Juggle Guy at the top that does a lot of the venue, general, big responsibility stuff, and then he delegates down. He has 2Shades down at the next level, and ahead, Wii U TO, and then it goes even further. 2Shades has his own crew. There are other crews at similar level to 2Shades, like Beach, Heartstrings, all those sorts of things, and it just keeps on going down and down until you get to the volunteers.
So instead of going through this by department, we're going to go through chronologically. So we'll start on day 0. So, Mark, you were there on day 0. Why don't you give us your perspective?
So day 0 is all about setup. We are given a pretty empty-ish room. We had to make ready for day 1 of the tournament. Day 1 is where most of the people are going to be active, so we have to make sure everything runs smoothly for that. All the preparation has to be done the night before. So Gaming Gen's bringing in their setups. Shout outs to Gaming Gen. They were a huge help. This is the day when Michigan people who decided to donate their contribute their setups to the friendlies room could go drop those off. We had to have people who could transport those and set them up in the friendlies room. We had the check-in desk run by Heartstrings. They had to get set up, make sure they had all the equipment, internet access, badges, everything they needed. The Smash GG merchandise desk also got set up in the friendlies room.
So let's talk more about that.
Yeah, that's really important before the tournament to make kind of decisions on where you're going to put stuff in the venue. And we decided to put the merch for one of the first times, I think, in the friendlies room primarily. So, Gamero, what do you think about that? So
here was a big thing. At the Big House 5, many of you may have seen this gigantic line that had formed outside, and that was because of handing out all the T-shirts, the free T-shirt for signing up early, and other merchandise. So what we did is Smash GG had their own desk in a separate area that wouldn't clog. I put them kind of far away at a point where they would have less space to form on their own line, and so people would check in and then go there to pick up their merchandise. And this actually made the flow of the check-in desk a lot faster, and we never really, there was an initial rush, but it was nothing compared to Big House 5.
For sure.
It was also able to cycle through pretty quickly because they didn't. The check-in desk staff didn't have to go look behind them for what size shirt everyone needed to make sure each person actually got that shirt. They just had to give them the correct badge, and they were on their way.
Yep.
And they didn't even have to give them, like, say you're at Big House 4, you have to dig through and look for your individual name on the tag. Like, we sent out contributor badges to people if they wanted their individual name, but here, the check-in does, nope, just, oh, you're a competitor? All right, here you go, competitor pass, you're on your way. Like, 2 seconds.
This system got really streamlined. Moving on to day 1, this is largely, day 1 is a very stressful day because we go from 1,500-ish entrants down to a little under 300, or under 400.
Yep.
That's a big jump in one day.
It's also where a lot of the staff just kind of has to not necessarily just hope that everything they set up the night before works, but they have to be there to handle any initial problems that go wrong that they might not be anticipating.
And that's, day 1 is a really important day for people like myself. I mean, I didn't have a huge role, I just pool captained one pool. But all those people are really important, having those individual pool captains for every single pool. There's like hundreds of pools at this tournament. I don't know if it's actually hundreds. There's a lot of pools at this tournament. You need a pool captain for every one. You need stream runners moving around. Like, day 1 really is the day that we're putting a lot of stress on the number of TOs we have.
And these are volunteers that may not have ever volunteered at tournaments before, and certainly not ones the size of Big House, so it can be overwhelming for them. We need to make sure we have staff who can go around and regulate those people, make sure they're up to speed on everything that's going on, because it's one thing to be told what to do the night before and given like a little rundown, but to actually be in the situation and dealing with the issues, it can get confusing sometimes.
And there will be issues.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the big differences between Big House 5 and Big House 6 was that I implemented was a volunteer structure, even adding more delegation layers to them. Because at Big House 5, our amazing volunteer coordinator, shout out to him, Mudkip, he's a god. He's so good at what he does, but he couldn't leave the venue at Big House 5. He couldn't even go eat because he always needed to be on top of me. So what I did is I gave him 3 assistant volunteer coordinators. These people were senior staff level. And then below that, he had an army of like 12 senior volunteers, people who had been a volunteer before and said, I want to do more to help this tournament out. And below that was just the legions of volunteers that really made the tournament happen. If you were a volunteer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so what this allowed was, first off, Chuck didn't have to be present constantly. There was someone always who was a volunteer coordinator at that time, and he had 4 people that he could send out to do all the DQing. And so he actually never really needed to leave the desk that often. A major senior staff who deserves a lot of credit was Frecky. He did a lot of work too. And then the robotic fish was also just an absolute standout, and I would love to see him do that.
Yeah, any other staff who was hanging around the TO desk a lot definitely knows robotic fish was on top of everything.
Oh, really on top of stuff. All right, so moving on to day 2, the primary thing that happened the main thing that happened at the beginning of this day was doubles. So, Gamera, you said that there was some sort of a problem with doubles that we fixed with delegation. What's the deal with that?
So, a lot of my staff was involved in the TMG crew battles, and so we were significantly cut down in our staff at this time. At the same time, the volunteers got a little more confused. Everything with doubles is a little more disorientated because there's so many more people packed into the same area, and you're spacing all these matches out. It's hard to get around.
It is the second day as well that people aren't as fresh.
Right, exactly. It's a little different from the day before. So what happened is that a lot of those people had to go around from my staff and just make a lot of executive calls and get everyone, calm down and back on track. So this is just to deal with the type of problem that you may encounter in a tournament that you can't ever expect or plan for.
And that's why it really helps to have delegation. Gamera had so many of those people with real authority, but they weren't like giant names that could go around and really lay down the law.
Mm-hmm. And then at the end, we had all the senior staff show up for teardown. At the end of the day, where we took down all the friendly all the setups for competition in the main ballroom, and then we took them out to the gaming gen semi truck. And so it requires a big effort because it can take a long time or it can be all at once. And eventually, once we all got in there, we did it in about maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, it ran real smooth. We got everything taken care of real quickly. Even we were pretty much ready before they got the truck there.
Yep.
It's impressive. Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on to day 3. We had a little bit of a problem with players showing up late, early in the morning. It's kind of a top player issue. Like, I don't know, it's Sunday. It's hard to be on the 3rd day.
TPP.
Yeah, top player privilege, exactly. So there's lots of TOs running around trying to find top players. That's the main issue. It's not like there's a lot of matches going on at this point. Like, you don't need a huge TO staff.
But as a lot of you know, like, the tournament goes pretty late into the night anyways. Like, if we try to wait any longer for these people to show up, the tournament's going to end even later. That's not something we can really do. So even one player, Commaster, ended up getting DQ'd from top 32 because he showed up too late.
I mean, you have to show up. You have to show up on time. Like, it's really
he
tough.
walked in almost an hour late, asking if he got DQ'd or not.
The key players on day 3 would be my team, because we're responsible for finding all the top players and getting them to the right places. Hyper Crasher for dealing with the Wii U and Melee crossover for Mewtwo King and Wizzy.
Yep.
And then CTL and his team, Big Wens, Fro, a few other people. And these people were so important because they made all the stream content throughout the day. And also CNOT for bringing in the 4 recording setups. So all these matches were recorded on 6 setups, or a lot of them were. And that made for a ton of great content that we could watch later and enjoy.
And speaking on stream content, something else also happened on the final day. The top 8 was a little different than most top 8s, I would say. Like, I really think Big House set the bar with this whole analyst desk, with having Fendi on the MC. That just gives the commentators like so much time to relax. Like, I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts. What do you think about this this new way to do top 8?
The Gims, shout out to the Gims.
Oh my God, shout out to the Gims.
So I did not know he was doing that much. I was prepared to help him out with any of this stuff, but he had planned it out already so well.
And that's delegation too. Like,
Exactly.
nobody even knew. Jungle Guy didn't know what was going to happen.
He has his own network just like we have ours.
I had a meeting with him beforehand, and he didn't even ask for help with this. I got into all the people I need for this. But so what goes into this? What we learned from that were a few things. The main thing is that the top 8 ran a little long, and so one of the problems with that is that because we did both the walk-ups as well as the analyst test, the analyst test came first, and then the walk-up came after. But we've learned that we have to do one or the other. You either drop the walk-ups so they can be warming up while the analyst test is happening, or you do the walk-ups and you don't do the analyst test, because I can imagine some tournaments not needing that.
Or you can even mix up the analyst test, I would imagine, to do it like less often, maybe every couple sets, something like that.
Right, and so there was like these random delays, or I think eventually for like commercials and stuff. But you know, the point is that we're learning. It's a learning process. That this stuff is very exciting. I truly believe that it's the future of our streams, and I'm excited to see what the gamer will do in the future.
Well, even if it was 5.5 hours long or whatever, like that was the main issue. Like, it was exceptional content the whole time.
Absolutely.
We just have to decide, maybe we need to take it down to like 4 hours or 4.5. Like,
It's hard to decide what to cut when everything is so good.
Yeah.
When it's
oh
a
my
test
God.
run. I mean,
Yeah, it's also
test
it's
run.
the first time. Like, these things have to work out the kinks, and you can only do that through trial and error.
Exactly.
All right, I think that about wraps it up, guys.
Yep, so that'll wrap up our Big House series, I'm pretty sure, here. We might do one of them. I've been trying to talk to Mero into doing some funny stories next week, so we'll see. We'll see what's happening, but we'll see you guys back next week.